I learned a hard lesson about how easily the mundane life of an ordinary person can turn into a real mess. When this story began several years ago, my family consisted of my wife Anna, 38, myself, Larry Dragonhelm, 42, and our children Angelique, 8, and Elliot, 6. Although we weren't the happiest family in our Scandinavian country capital, we managed to stick together, probably because we thought it was best for our children. It all started when I ran into my old classmate Tom Homer on a Friday after work at the liquor store. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and since the store was pretty crowded that day, we had a lot of time to talk. To our surprise, we discovered that Tom's wife, Cecilia, works at the same company where my wife Anna has spent the last 6 months, and he asked me, "I didn't see you at our wives' Christmas party, but will you come to the going-away party, the old owners of their company?" I told him I would like to come, but I wasn't invited. Tom looked surprised as he told me, "Of course you're invited, and all the spouses are invited. Why shouldn't you be?" "I'll ask Anna. You can be sure of that." "See you there, old man." The reason for the big company party just 2.5 months after the Christmas party was that the old owners had sold their shares to a national investment company and wanted to thank all their employees before the new owners took over on the 1st of March. Of course, I remembered the Christmas party. It was Anna's first Christmas party at her new job, and she told me she was sorry I wasn't invited. She bought a new sexy dress for the party, went there with a very beautiful woman, and returned home at 4 in the morning in a very unkempt state. After some arguing, I told her that I believed what she told me about the party and the gathering afterwards at one of her friends' place. She cried and promised me that there was nothing between her and any man. Of course, I had serious doubts about her story, but what could I do without any evidence? When I returned home with my shopping, I immediately told Anna, "I met my old friend Tom Homer at the liquor store, and he told me that his wife works for the same company as you." Anna looked worried as she answered, "What's her name?" "Cecilia Homer. Do you know her?" "No, I don't know. Did he say she knows me?" "No, he didn't, but he told me that all the spouses were invited to your Christmas party. Who the hell was pretending to be your spouse at that damn party? And where did you spend that night?" She turned pale as she answered, "I've already told you several times that I thought consorts weren't invited. I was new there and didn't understand the invitation. So you're the only idiot in the group who can't understand a simple invitation, huh? I promised to hunt down that bastard who was having fun with you after the party, and you can be sure that he'll regret his birth when I find him." She began to cry and sob. "I have already told you several times that there were at least 12 to 15 of us in someone's house. Just a few drinks and a little dancing. There is no reason for your anger and jealousy." Her story had too many weak points, but I couldn't go any further without proof. So I asked her, "Am I invited and booked to the company's next party?" Again, I noticed a strange expression on her face because she had not mentioned anything about this party to me. But now she knew that I knew that all spouses were invited, and she replied, "Of course, I booked both of us for the party, but I forgot to tell you about it." I had serious doubts that Anna was telling me the truth. Needless to say, our marriage has cooled down to a very cold level. All thoughts about sex with Anna could be considered wasted time. The mess then worsened again the following Friday afternoon when I took a few hours off from work to run some errands. Anna usually left work at 1 o'clock on Friday, so we were both at home when the phone rang. I picked up the phone and heard that the caller was in the car with dance music from the radio in the background. But he or she hung up without saying a word. Anna asked me, "Who was it?" I told her, "Your lover," but he hung up when he heard me pick up. My response was intended as an innocent joke, but I couldn't help but notice how she froze for a moment before she started screaming, "You're really weird. What do you think of me?" It was an innocent joke, but now, after your reaction, I don't know what to think. Was I right? She calmed down and replied in a soft voice, "No, you're wrong. And it was more one of your jealous put-downs than a stupid joke. But I'm sorry for losing my patience. I had a terrible day at work today. It's not an excuse, but I hope this can explain my bad mood. At the party, Anna decided to wear a much less sexy dress than last time and was far from in a cheerful mood when we went there. The party took place at one of the city's finest hotels, where dinner was served at round tables rather than the usual long tables. We were 5 couples at our table, and I got the impression that Anna knew all the other women. I couldn't confirm it, but I had a feeling that Anna considered my presence a pain in the ass that ruined her expectedly good time for the evening. After the meal, when we were served coffee and a glass of cognac, Anna's boss came to our table for a little chat. Seeing me next to Anna, he said, "You must be Anna's husband. We missed you at the Christmas party. It's a shame you couldn't come." I replied, "I wasn't invited to that party. At least that's what Anna told me." He looked at Anna and asked, "All the spouses were invited? How could you miss it?" I told him, "She came home very late in a terrible mess, so I'm sure she chose some replacement from the office instead of me." Some of the other couples couldn't help but laugh, and Anna turned red as a tomato. Her boss apparently found the situation slightly unpleasant and said, "I don't know anything about that." Before he left our table, I replied, "You should know. There are sluts in all offices." Anna started crying, and I'm sure the other couples found the situation excruciating because they all excused themselves and went to the toilets. Even I went to the toilet, where I talked for a few minutes with one of the other spouses, who was sitting at the same table as Anna and me. He told me that his wife and he sat quite close to Anna at the Christmas party. She spent the entire evening very close to one of her work colleagues. He remembered my wife because his wife mentioned her noble and old-fashioned sounding last name. I never expected something like this to happen to me, but I knew that many naive men before me had learned the painful truth about an unfaithful wife due to some kind of accident. It hit me like a heavy blow to the stomach. Of course, I noticed that the sparks between me and my beloved wife Anna were becoming less and less frequent lately. But things like ups and downs happen in all marriages sooner or later, so I wasn't too worried about it. I was confident that things would get better again soon. I didn't see Anna, and one of her colleagues told me that she left the party. Anna did not answer calls on her cell phone, and when the nanny also did not answer our home phone, I realized that Anna was home and dismissed the nanny. I spent some time in the bar, and, to my great relief, no one mentioned Anna. At home, I found her sleeping in our bed. The next day was the worst day of our 11 years of marriage. Anna screamed and yelled, but refused to tell me where she was or who she was with the night of the Christmas party. On Monday morning, Anna went to work as usual, and much to her relief, no one at her work said anything about how I humiliated her during dinner. Even her boss, who apparently thought it was her personal problem. What her colleagues said behind her back was another matter entirely. The next surprise was that on Friday evening, Anna began to initiate wonderful sex. This was a huge change from her usual behavior. Of course, I suspected that her new interest in sex with me was due to my new rude behavior and comments about my lover. Anna fell asleep immediately after our intense sex, but I had too many thoughts in my head to fall asleep. The big question was, does Anna prefer me as a caveman instead of the nice guy I used to be? Nothing much happened for the next 8 days, and I felt like our marriage was slowly getting back to better levels. Then everything collapsed like a house of cards one morning when I saw that Anna had dressed a little better than usual and had done her hair. During our breakfast, she told me that she forgot to tell me yesterday that she would probably have to work overtime that day because her boss mentioned something about it yesterday. I saw no reason to keep quiet about what I was thinking, so I said, "Since when do you have to dress particularly sexy for overtime? Wouldn't it be better to tell me the truth? That you're going to have fun with your damn lover again?" This caught her off guard, which was clearly visible on her face before she started screaming, "Are you completely crazy again? You need help with this paranoid behavior. We better end this marriage so you can have as much sex with your damn lover as you want without doing it behind my back. I may be crazy, but I'm not crazy enough to stay married to a cheater. That's for sure." Anna began to cry, and even our children began to cry loudly. I started thinking, what have I done to my family? I started the biggest fight in our marriage without having a shred of evidence of Anna's infidelity. The only thing I had was a strange sensation that I experienced during a sleepless night. After Anna had been crying for a while, she sobbed and asked me, "Do you really want a divorce?" "Yes. I don't see any other solution if you're going to ruin this marriage. It would be better for us to separate as soon as possible so that we can move on with our lives. I'm tired of being bullied. Believe me, I've had enough." Anna rushed back to our bedroom, and I felt some regret for accusing her of cheating, even though I had no shred of evidence of it. I realized that I was acting like a caveman and had done everything completely wrong. Of course, I had to do the usual thing by gathering evidence, and if I could do that, then I could accuse her. When Anna returned to the kitchen a few minutes later, she was dressed as usual on an ordinary day. She didn't tell me anything, and I didn't know what to tell her. I began to understand that only a miracle could save our marriage. If Anna was innocent, she is unlikely to survive all the humiliation that I've inflicted on her lately. If she was guilty of a scam, our marriage would be history as soon as I found any evidence of it. When she got home in the evening, she told me a story about how she told her boss that I refused to work overtime for her, and he accepted it because he knew me from the party. I should have called her boss, but didn't. To my great delight, the new owners of the company where Anna worked unexpectedly came to my aid. Their IT staff conducted an undercover investigation into office computer usage and found that the average time spent on all types of personal business was up to 52 minutes per day per employee in the office. The worst of them was online for 16 hours during the week studied. The following Monday morning, the entire staff of her office was called into a meeting where they were informed of the new rules, which meant that all personal work on the internet was prohibited and the time saved, and the new organization even led to the firing of the last 4 people hired. Anna kept her job, but now had to use the PC we shared at home for all her emails. The children had computers, but no internet access. I had always been interested in computer programs and felt like now, we're going to play in my backyard. I was prepared for this and prepared a computer with a mirror program that saved a copy of everything it did. Another program could restore everything it deleted. Within a couple of days, she activated a new free email address on our computer for Happy Lass, along with her old Hotmail address, which she used to innocently communicate with some of her old friends who had left town. The new account received only a few messages. Several real letters were from a certain happy lad, plus regular spam. The only messages Anna sent in the first week were completely innocent, happy lad messages, telling him about her new email address and that she was available online again. Even his first reply, which she deleted, didn't contain much information, just, "It's great to have my darling online again." It was now obvious to me that Anna was involved in something, and I had good hopes of gathering useful information about what it was. Of course, they could use cell phones for basic communication, especially now that she was limited to using a computer at home, and she knew I was quite computer savvy, but I was sure she would prefer to use email for all long messages. I decided that Anna would never receive 50% of our assets if she caused our divorce due to her infidelity. I worked hard to provide a decent standard of living for my family, and no lover gets anything out of it. So I started slowly working on a plan that I decided to use to save my money. As the sole owner of our home, I could take out a large investment loan without the need for Anna's signature. Much to my surprise, the bank agreed to give me everything I wanted. The next day, I told Anna that I needed to go to Italy for final negotiations on the purchase of a new car for my work. She had no objections or questions because I had done similar trips before. The next day, I went to a local travel agency and bought a cheap plane ticket to Malaga, Spain, and even asked them to book a hotel room in the small British territory of Gibraltar, a rock that controls traffic between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Gibraltar is the most famous money laundromat in Europe. I even asked a travel agency to book tickets from Gibraltar to London and from London back home. As expected, Anna did not contact my work to find out that I had taken 3 days off. I went on a trip, took a local bus from Malaga to the Spanish border town of La Linea, and then on to Gibraltar. But I didn't launder money. The only thing I did there was a tour of and inside the famous rock. The next morning, I took the first flight to London and then returned home. During the trip, I tried to pay as much as possible with my personal MasterCard credit card, which would make it easy to trace my tracks if anyone wanted to do so in the future. The only thing I could do at the moment was to check what it was doing on our computer. Nothing useful yet. So far, only one message from Happy Lad, who told her that he was sitting alone in a hotel room and wished that she was here to comfort him. She didn't email him back, so I checked her cell phone while she was showering, but all the messages were deleted as usual. Then, finally, I got my bingo. His next email contained useful information. It said, "Hello, love. Sorry. I was busy meeting with important clients here in the north, far from you in those days when your coward was in Italy. I terribly missed your hot lips every evening when I knew you were waiting for me. But I have good news for us. Next Wednesday, I have the whole day free in the city, and the only thing I have planned is a visit to the dentist from 9:30 to about 10:30. The rest of the day is ours, just you and I, all day. Dear Anna, please take this day off, at least from 11 Gaus, and spend it with me, Frederick." I now knew his name and profession, which gave me a little hope that she would use email to respond. She replied and wrote, "Dear Frederick, of course I'll take the day off after 11 How. May I suggest a romantic dinner at your place, so people don't see us together in town when I'm not at work? I'm sure Larry still suspects something, so our break was the right decision for us, if we want to keep our love a secret. However, I do agree that this one-time violation of our break will be beneficial. I promise you that I have thought very often about you and am looking forward to our wonderful day. With love, Anna." Much to my delight, I was able to find an apartment to rent and pay for a year in advance in case I had any problems with the authorities during our divorce. The seller, Frederick something from our city, was not a specific enough indication to find it. It was too common a name and profession, although I suspected he worked for the same company as Anna. However, I knew the date and time, and if I had no further clues, I would have had a chance of following her to his house. Nowadays, many people choose to use mobile phones for most of their communication with others. Apparently, even Anna and her lover Frederick did this, because I was unable to find out more information on our computer. The day before Anna's expected big day with her lover, I had everything ready for my actions. My own and our joint bank accounts were emptied, and money disappeared through unknown means from the open market. A van with tinted windows was rented. To my surprise, Anna behaved as usual on the morning of her Maundy Wednesday. No sexy outfit and nothing special with the hair. There were no visible signs that she was expecting a great day with her lover. I started to hope that she called it all off. However, I couldn't hide my stress, and Anna asked me with a worried look, "Are you okay? You don't look very good." What could I say? I replied, "I'm fine. Just thinking about some small problems I need to solve today, but everything is under control." "I was worried. You look so pale." "No need to worry, I'm fine. By the way, it would be nice to have lunch together today so we can talk about some important issues." She looked uncomfortable again as she replied, "I'd really like to, but I'm sorry I can't, because I already have an important business meeting scheduled for lunch today. Tomorrow will be great." I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I understand that you have to do important things first." Now even Anna has lost her complexion. Perhaps she was wondering what unpleasant thing she was planning to do during the day. Of course, I wasn't okay. Far from it. The future of our family depended on what she planned to do over the next few hours. I was afraid that this was our last family breakfast together, and our lunch would be canceled forever. Anna left for work and took Elliot with her to his preschool. Angelica went to school, and I stayed home for a while. Again, I took the day off from work. At 10:30, I parked the van strategically near Anna's work, so that I could see both her parked car and her personal entrance. Thanks to the tinted windows, no one could see me sitting in the seat behind the driver's seat. 5 minutes after 11, she walked out to the parking lot, walked to her car, drove straight into a residential area near the city center and parked near one of the entrances where she entered. I followed her and was able to read on the information board inside that Frederick Albinson had an apartment on the second floor. I gave her 5 minutes before I called her cell phone. She saw from the call ID that it was me calling and responded, "Anna is here. What's the problem, Larry?" "You, my love, are my worst problem," she answered in surprise. "Me? Are you crazy?" "No, honey. But I discovered that your lover is home now, and you should be there with him. I'm going to deal with him. Get dressed and leave his apartment before I get there." She sounded worried, but said, "What are you dreaming about? Of course, I'm at work. If you tell the truth, it is very good for you. Otherwise, it will be very bad." I ended the call and was now standing at Frederick's door with a sledgehammer and a black trash bag. As I expected, about a minute later, the door was opened by a middle-aged man. I was ready for a right hand and hit him hard in the face. This caught him off guard, and he fell back into the apartment. Anna, pale and shocked, stood behind him. I told her, "You damn traitor, get out of here, now!" Before she could react, I pushed her out of the apartment and locked the door behind her. Now, left alone with Frederick, I attacked him with strong blows with both hands until he fell to the floor. In other circumstances, I am sure that this young man in good form could have beaten me. But now he was taken by surprise, which, together with my rage at the loss of my marriage, gave me such an advantage that punching and kicking him was an easy task. As he lay motionless on the floor, I took a sledgehammer and destroyed everything of value in his small, simply furnished one-room apartment. It was clear that this apartment was not his real home, so I took Frederick's cell phone and some documents with his home address and personal information from his briefcase. Anna was still standing outside, ringing the doorbell and screaming, "Don't kill him, don't kill him." I opened the door and pulled Anna into the apartment again, saying, "Cheater, he's yours now. Have as much fun as you want. I don't care about either of you." She was shocked again when she saw what I had done to Frederick and his apartment. She began to sob. "Please let me explain. Please listen to me, Larry." I told her to shut up and went out into the van, where I could read in Frederick's documents that he worked as a salesman for the same company as Anna, but lived with his family near the national capital. This explained his small apartment in our city. Frederick ruined my marriage, and as the Bible says, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I only had one thing to do. First, I called Anna's parents and asked them to take care of our children after school because I had to work overtime and Anna had some personal problems. They promised to do this. Then I turned off my cell phone and went on a 2-day vacation trip in a rented van. Returning to my hometown 2 days later, I turned on the phone again and was able to read and listen to many messages from Anna. My only response to her was a text message. "Anna, I have filed for divorce, and this is my final decision regarding our marriage." After that, I spent the rest of the day moving my clothes and other personal items from our house to my new apartment. I left copies of the divorce papers on the kitchen table. The affair between Anna and Frederick apparently lasted several months. If it had been a one-time drunken blunder after a Christmas party, there might have been a chance to forgive them. Or if what I said to her during our last family breakfast would have caused her to cancel her date with him, it would have saved Frederick from my brutal beating. The next day I went to work as usual and was a little surprised because Anna didn't call me. The only call concerning Frederick came from the police. They wanted to talk to me, and since we both had a lot to do, we agreed to meet in 3 weeks. After lunch, I called Anna's mother, who told me that she would have the children for a few days, and that Anna had told her that she had no objection to the divorce. 3 days later, Anna called and was absolutely furious that our total capital had dropped to 0. She screamed that she would sue me for this and for destroying Frederick's house. I told her that lost money can be replaced, but our lost love and broken family is much worse because it will never be restored. Anna was not satisfied with this answer. 3 weeks later, my lawyer and I went to the police and it ended up being a polite conversation, and the lawyer didn't object to anything that was said there. The police accused me of beating Frederick so badly that he couldn't work for 2 weeks, and destroying both his apartment and his house. I denied everything except using self-defense when my wife's angry and desperate lover attacked me when I interrupted their date. I got the impression that the policeman was doing his job, but did not make any extra effort to pin me down. Obviously, he had no sympathy for his cheating wife and her lover. I didn't care, because if I were found guilty and sentenced to pay Frederick compensation for the beating and for destroying his apartment, it wouldn't give him any money. The verdict would only be a document confirming his legal right to demand payment from me. But if I didn't have money, that would be his problem, not something the legal system could care about. Much to my surprise, Anna called me and suggested we meet to discuss our children at a restaurant. I went there, and we managed to act civilized. Anna surprised me by confessing her relationship with Frederick, which began just a few weeks after she started her new job. During the reorganization of the sales department, Anna helped Frederick as a secretary, and tension arose between them almost immediately. Dinner in his small apartment ended in his bed. They continued speed dating from time to time, but there weren't many opportunities for it because Frederick only made a few visits to the main office. When Frederick's wife couldn't attend the Christmas party, he saw it as a great opportunity to spend most of the night together. Anna said she had serious doubts, but eventually agreed to it, which she said was the stupidest mistake of her life. Anna told me that, although she had a connection with Frederick, family and I always came first for her. She never diminished her love for me, even when I started accusing her of cheating. Anna said they planned to end their relationship the day I beat Frederick to a pulp. She was already planning how to reward me when she became a faithful wife again. She told me that since his wife left Frederick, they were planning to live together, but she would leave him immediately if I promised to give her a new chance. I said, "Sorry, but it hurts too much." We then agreed that she would be the primary caregiver, but the children could see me as often as they wanted. After some hesitation, she asked me about the money, and I noticed tears in her eyes when I told her that I had lost everything in foolish speculation, and this was her price for getting rid of me. I told her that I paid a much higher price for our separation than she did because losing my family was a much higher price than any damn money. She again promised to bring the family back together again once I accepted her apology and took her back. She didn't look happy when I told her I preferred traitor as an ex-wife. Before we parted, I warned her that hiring her lawyer to find her lost money would cost her a lot of money and not give her anything in return. The following Monday morning at work, when my beautiful secretary Sarah arrived, I immediately noticed that something was wrong with her. She was wearing sunglasses, and when she took them off, I saw a real bruise under her left eye. Her right eye was red, as if she had cried a lot over the weekend. At first, she refused to tell me anything, but after a few minutes, she said, "Now I am a single mother." What happened? Daniel and I broke up. I was surprised because I always thought Sarah and Daniel were the perfect couple. I asked, "How did this happen?" "Why?" "Because being hit by your husband once is a terrible experience that can be forgiven as a mistake. But when it happens a second time, it is already a bad habit, too bad to accept or forgive. A man who hits his wife twice will continue. It's for less reason if she doesn't leave him. Daniel hit me a second time and we're going to get a divorce. I always thought he was a good guy and thought you were the perfect match. Why did he turn into such a crazy person? Out of jealousy. The first time he hit me was when I was dancing a hot tango with a handsome guy from South America at a wedding. He was a damn good dancer, but it was just an innocent tango that made Daniel so angry that he hit me. No other men objected or paid attention when this handsome guy danced with their wives. I forgave Daniel after a while, but told him that next time will be the last, and he promised that he would never do it again. But he did it, and we will get a divorce. Why did he hit you this time? Because it's my fault that Anna and you broke up. I didn't understand anything at all and asked, how can it be your fault that Anna slept with that damned Frederick? This is far beyond my understanding. She did it because you and I were having an affair. I was so surprised that I shouted, You and me, what? Novel. You and I had an affair? Why don't you tell me when and what we usually do? How can I be involved in this affair and not know anything? No, you're not alone. Neither of us knew anything about this damn affair, although you and I should have been the first to know. I found it hard to believe that a good guy like Daniel would turn into such a crazy person and force his beautiful, beautiful wife to divorce him. Of course, I always admired Sarah as soon as I got to know her, but I never harassed her with sexual comments or propositions, although I knew that I would choose Sarah over Anna if given the choice. What was I supposed to say? I asked her. Why didn't he ask me? I never cheated on Anna, although I had many temptations over the years. Of course, I can't deny that I was sometimes jealous Daniel for being married to every man's dream, but innocent dreams and dirty actions are two different things. Where did he get such stupid and untrue rumors, and why did he believe this nonsense without trying to find out the truth? Some friends Daniel heard the rumors and told him, "Rumors? Why didn't he ask you and me? How can he be so incredibly stupid? It sounds crazy." He asked with his fist. Unbelievable. She tried to laugh and asked, "Now that your dream of a girl is alone, is it your place or mine?" "Mine will be great." Agreed. An hour later, she quietly asked me, "Are you still serious about our date?" I gave her my best smile and replied, "I'm not going to run away because what you offered me today only happens once in a lifetime." "Are you sure I offered you something?" "No, and I'm not demanding anything, but a date is a date." "Okay, a date will be a date." Although we joked about our new single lives, we both knew that this was the day our lives could change dramatically. The tension was growing all the time, and she took the afternoon off. After work, I did some shopping before returning to my apartment and didn't expect her to come, but at 6 o'clock she rang my doorbell with a small overneat bag in her hand. Sarah said, "In case you're serious about our date." I'm serious. It was a terrible day for her meeting with her lawyer. I suggested that she rest while I prepared dinner. After dinner, I comforted her as we sat on the couch and talked about our broken marriages. She asked me several times if I would take Anna back, and each time I told her that it was out of the question. We went to bed early, but I didn't make any attempts at sex that night. To my surprise, she slept well and felt a little better in the morning. The next weekend, we rented a minibus, and on Saturday, we went to a nearby zoo with her 2 children and my 2. Much to our delight, everything went much better than we expected. Now we knew we could live together as a family. On Sunday evening, after Sarah left her children with her parents, and I left mine with Anna, we had dinner at one of the best restaurants in town. Back at my apartment, we started kissing intensely as soon as we closed the door. Sarah told me that she was happy because our first sex was good. Very good. It was true love, tender, but intense. We were both satisfied, especially me, because Sarah was much better than Anna in our last months together. Anna's lawyer found out about my trip to Gibraltar and tried to use it against me during the divorce. I was asked many questions about this trip, but since I told the same simple truth every time, no one could find anything against me, although Anna's lawyer spent a lot of time on his investigations about my lost money. The divorce ended as expected. Anna received 50% of nothing and a huge debt to her lawyer. During a meeting with Anna about our children, I told her that she should have listened to me when I warned her about the sharks of the law, and she responded with tears in her eyes. "How could you take all our money? How could you do this with me?" I asked her, "How could you cheat on me? How could you do this to me?" Her answer surprised me. Because I was an idiot, and it was the worst mistake of my life. Does Frederick know that you regret your involvement with him? He regrets his role in this mess. Even he paid a very high price for our connection. But you must be very happy now that you have the man you love. Remember, I gave you a fair choice during our last family breakfast, and you chose to go to Frederick's rather than have lunch with me. This was the worst mistake of my life. I lost the man I love, but although Frederick and I are lost in this mess, we are doing everything we can to make the situation better. Are you happy? I replied, yes. I am very happy with Sarah, but it was neither her nor my choice to get a divorce. We would both prefer our children to grow up in a home with both parents. We are happy that we found each other, and we will do our best to arrange this. Anna and Frederick bought my old house at a high price. In fact, They took on all the loans, giving them much higher monthly expenses than Anna and I had during our time there. Sarah and her ex-husband bought her share of their home at a fair price, and she invested the money in a new home, which we moved in with her. The police did not ask me any more questions about the damage to Frederick's house in the capital area. Such issues are probably not big issues there, and at the time the police were overworked and had difficulty cooperating between different counties, and it wasn't working well. I heard rumors that the house was somehow the sole property of Frederick's wife, and she even took the bulk of the insurance proceeds. However, I was sentenced to 2 months in a white-collar prison and to pay compensation to Frederick for the beating and for damaging his small apartment in our city. I have never paid him anything and have no plans to do so. Of course, I promised to pay him as soon as I received some money, but until I have the money, the authorities can't do anything to help him collect anything from me. Sarah and I quit our old jobs, which are now being done by Sarah's new consulting company, where I work part-time. I drive the company car and live as a guest in their house. This is a good decision for both of us. Anna did not stop searching for my lost money. One evening, she invited Sarah to the pub to talk about children, and after a few drinks, she began asking Sarah about money. But Sarah could only tell her the truth, that she didn't know anything about any money, and she didn't care about the damn money because I myself was the best deal she'd ever made in her life. Sarah and I have always worked well together, and now we have even created a very good family relationship with lots of fun together and very good sex. My kids love Sarah, and her kids love me. Everything was going well until I heard rumors that Daniel boasted in the city that he had brought Sarah back to him. I knew that he had weekly meetings with some expensive psychotherapist and boasted that he was cured of his previous problems. I didn't say anything to Sarah about this because I figured I'd let her make her own decision about it. Sarah's ex-fathers-in-law could not accept the fact that she had left their son and made several serious attempts to return her to Daniel. They called her at least once a week and promised many benefits, such as a new car or an expensive trip to South Africa for her and Daniel if she returned to him. One evening, Sarah looked worried when she told me that she had been invited to her little sister's wedding. "Daniel," she said, "I'd like to go, but if you have any objections, I'll stay home." Why should I have any objections? Because I'm afraid that my parents, Daniel, will work hard to bring us back together. And a romantic event like a wedding would be a great opportunity for them to do their best to convince me of this, so maybe I should avoid this wedding. But his sister and I were really close, so I'd like to go if that's okay for you. The only thing I could do was say, "You're a grown girl, and if you want to go, go." It'll be fun to see her on her big day because I suspect they have relationship problems and this wedding is their last straw to save them. So, are you really sure you have no objections? No, I see no reason to object. One good reason might be that I suspect there will be drinking and I'll have to stay the night. Aren't you worried about that? No, why should I? Like I told you, you're a grown girl who can take care of herself. I love you so much. And I love you. Hometown Daniel was about 60 kilometers from ours, and Sarah left early Saturday morning, expecting to return at some point on Sunday. I didn't ask her about the details because it was her decision what she wanted to do. We decided to minimize the phone calls to just one, where she told me she had arrived there without any problems, and I wished her a good time at the wedding. She gave me a hug and a kiss before she left. Of course, this Saturday was an important day for me, and I was afraid of it much more than I wanted to show Sarah. Anything could happen during her trip, and I knew that Sarah would be under a lot of pressure from Daniel, his parents, and friends. I told Sarah that she was a grown girl who could take care of herself, and nothing made me think otherwise. Anna was with my kids, so I spent most of the day working and went out for dinner and a few beers with some people I knew at the pub, but didn't stay long. I bought a comedy DVD which I watched before going to bed. Much to my surprise, Sarah returned home at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning and gave me a warm hug before asking me to follow her into the bedroom. Then she undressed, lay on her back on the bed, pulled me towards her and whispered in my ear, "Oh, how I love you. Make love to me." Afterwards, she asked me, Did I shock you by coming home hot as hell? You rather gave me a very pleasant surprise. I love you so much for trusting me and allowing me to go to the wedding, although you should have known that there would be serious efforts and temptations to take me back to Daniel. I knew it, but I was confident that you could handle it. Yes, I did it. Then she told me that since, at her parents' house, Daniel's several relatives were staying, they planned that Daniel and she will share a small room with one bed when they go to bed after the party. It was the bride who gave Sarah this information, although Sarah herself had expected something similar and had booked a hotel room. She left the party when she realized that the drunken proposals to return to Daniel have become too common to be funny. She skipped Sunday lunch with her family, Daniel, and left the hotel after an early breakfast. One thing was for sure, Sarah and I had a very good relationship. Last week, when I met Anna in a cafe to plan the next months for our children, I got the impression that she seemed more unhappy than usual. And when I asked if she and Frederick were having problems, she replied, "Yes, we have, and I wouldn't hesitate for a second to say yes if you asked me to come back to you." I was not surprised, because the children had told me some stories about disagreements between Anna and Frederick. I asked her, "He cheated on his wife, and I'm sure you weren't his only relationship at the time. Is he even cheating on you now?" She started crying and sobbing. "Yes, I think so. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one."